So this is day one of our 14-day challenge to help you look awesome on social media. And what we're going to talk about today is where you're at right now. Yes, we're going to get to your objectives and we're going to talk about how to get there and we're going to make a lot of changes. But even if we have a map, if we don't know where we're at, it's hard to move forward. So today we just want to figure out where we're at. We're going to establish how you look online right now so we have a starting point to move forward. 76% of buyers are ready to have a social media conversation with their potential business providers. That is cool data. That means 3 out of 4 people are comfortable enough with their usage of social media. That's just how they're taking care of business. They're ready to talk to you, to get questions answered, to reach out to you. They're okay if you reach out to them. So it's a very important place for us in today's economy, especially as sales professionals, to be able to connect with our prospects and to create loyalty and strengthen our relationships with our clients. Now, this all centers around this concept of the moment of truth. When you think about it, at a high level, you have the stimulus. I recognize I have a need. And then in the old days, we would call up our agent, say, hey man, I just realized I need an umbrella policy. I don't really know what that is, but my buddy said he's got one and we're gonna talk to you. But now what do? We don't wanna acknowledge that we don't know something. So we're gonna go to the web and we're gonna Google it. And that's what the moments of truth are about, is about going to the online web, using social media, using the resources available to us to be prepared so we don't look dumb, so we can get the best deal, so we can make sure we're not taken advantage of. So how does this work? Well, more and more, these 0 moments of truth is not only giving us information, it's actually there where we choose who is going to help us solve our problem. So if you're not online, if you don't have a social media presence, then you don't even get to play the game. You're not even an option. So what we've got to figure out how to do is make you look good, connect, and create moments of truth that leave the prospect feeling like A, this person can help me, and B, I do feel confident that they know what they're talking about. Here's another statistic that I think is very interesting. In the real estate industry, over 50% of home buyers in 2018 found the actual home they ended up buying online before they talked to the realtor. The realtor found the home only 28% of the time. That's how powerful these moments of truth are. I found out what I need. Now that I figure that out, now I'm going to decide who's going to help me solve that. That's an interesting shift in the way things used to be. So when it comes to 0 moments of truth, let's just get our head around the actual specific kinds of things that our prospects are looking at that we can optimize. First off, right, you can see right here, search engine. We know that. People use Google. They use Bing. They're checking stuff out. They're going to look at web pages. That means your agency website. My question is, as a producer, is your name mentioned on that website? Did you know that the number 2 most popular page on a small business website is the About Us page? Because it's on the About Us page that it lists all the producers, all the names of the people that work there. And most often what happens is someone referred you, they Googled you, and you show up. So not only should you make sure your name is mentioned on the About Us page, if you can chum up with your website developer and make sure they create an individual page that's just for you, so the search engine is optimized around that page, that's going to give you a powerful website that will show up in this searching experience. The other thing that we have here is we've got posts, content. You can create a blog post or an article and share it on a blog or on your business website. That's something that people are going to find. Now, included in this is social media. Did you know that your social media profile, it's technically a website page. So if I do a search, if you search right now on my name, you can go do that if you want, search Brett Allen, you're gonna see that LinkedIn, probably Facebook, those profiles are gonna come up because those are highly optimized pages that are gonna provide information to let people learn about who I am, learn about who you are when they search on your name. Now, aside from search engines, we also just use social media in and of itself, right? We're on our Facebook app or we're using LinkedIn on our computer. And it's within that platform that we're also having these 0 moments of truth. It's here where we're looking at people, we're looking at information, we're reading articles, we're getting all this information. So what are you posting there? What kind of pictures, what kind of text, what kind of videos? And of course, how well is your profile optimized? These are all important factors. And then next we have videos. Video is so easy to create. YouTube is everywhere. It's built into your Roku and your smart TV and it's on your phone. YouTube is the second most highly used search engine on the web. Okay, only Google outpaces it. So between Google and YouTube, people are getting this information. If I were to search for your name on YouTube, what would come up? What would it show me? Sometimes other people have created content and you're out there and you don't even know it. So it's good for us to search and find out what we look like. Of course, and finally, when it comes to businesses, we're also looking at reviews. So whether we're looking at a restaurant using Yelp, or we're just looking at Google reviews or Facebook reviews, or I want to look at your LinkedIn profile to see if you've got any recommendations, what other people have said about you. These are the ways that we are finding out what you're all about. And our job in this training is to make sure you look awesome. We want people to have a positive moment of truth when they check you out. Now, it makes sense that the next thing we're going to talk about is what does it take to make a very powerful and good, positive, zero moment of truth. But actually, we want to take one step back. We want to look at the stimulus. It's the stimulus that drives people to the web. And it's helpful if we understand why they're shopping. Just think internally for a second. What are the pain points or the problems that have come up that have led us to go to the web to get answers? Okay? Have you heard a story or have you had an experience? There's some sort of stimulus that has caused you to realize there's a problem and maybe there's some hope for a future. Let me give you an example right here. I would say it was only just a couple weeks ago, I went to my father-in-law's home for his 75th birthday. It was a pretty fun event. They rented a bowling alley. It was a little town in Idaho, and all of my wife's family came. We had a great time. And when it was all over, we were going to be heading back to my father-in-law's home. And as we went outside, my wife's brother said, "Hey, you need to drive my new truck." And he'd bought one of these guys. It was a brand new Ford Raptor truck. And so before long, I was in my kind of lame caravan, right, behind my wife driving her brother's truck. And we pulled out and we're following along, and all of a sudden they stopped in the middle of the road. And you can do this in small towns in Idaho. Literally, in the middle of the road, downtown, they just stopped, and they're waiting there, and I was sitting there thinking, I wonder what's going on. And suddenly, it just took off. Apparently, my brother-in-law had said, "Drop it, just take off," and she did. She just barreled out of there, and it was like, it was awesome. It was awesome to watch. Like, I wasn't even in the vehicle. I was just behind it. The water was sputtering out of the muffler, and it just was vroom. And that is a stimulus. That is a moment. In fact, it was so powerful, guess what? For the next 5 hours on my drive home after that event, my wife was just talking about how awesome this truck was and how we need to upgrade my truck. That is the kind of stimulus that drives people to the web. And we've got to think about that. When we're creating content, most of the time, we're just thinking about ourselves as a salesperson. So what am I putting out there? We're assuming that the person is already stimulated and they're looking for answers. And so we just jump right into this side. We jump into often the technobabble, right? All the nitty gritty. We talk about the data points and the features and the benefits and the process of buying and what's in it for me as a salesperson. But often when it comes to the content we're sharing on the web, it assumes that there's been some sort of stimulus, they're searching, and we are just there answering them. We're selling them. You know, in my wife's case, in fact, I asked her a couple days ago, I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to tell this story in my video, how you would go to the web." And she said, "You know what? I already did." And unbeknownst to me, she'd already gone to the web. She's like, "I've priced it. I've picked the color. I know exactly which version we want to get." And so she's done all that data. Now, she was a first person experience in that, but she's got to convince me to sell my truck and get me a new truck. And so now that I'm going on the web, I'm not as, like, it was exciting, it was cool, but maybe I'm not as sold as much. Do you see where I'm getting here? When it comes to the content that we're sharing, we need to also include aspects that generate that stimulus or reinforce that stimulus to make sure that we have people excited and on board. Now, it isn't always excitement, right? Maybe it's fear. And I'll give you an example here in a minute about cyber liability, right? We might need to see, oh, I really need to take care of this. If I don't, I could be in trouble. And so we have to make sure our content also portrays that. So how do we do that? Well, when we're looking at our content, first off, ask yourself, is it in the mindset of a shopper? Is it feeding them and giving them the experience that's driving them forward, answering their basic questions? Or are we just taking on the role of a seller who's already assumed that they're ready to go and we just have to answer some questions and bring them through this process? Okay, that makes a big difference. The other thing that we really need to recognize is that the traditional buyer's journey has changed. So let's look at this traditional buyer's journey. In this example, right, we've got marketing, we got the pre-meeting, right? Maybe you have a phone call or you fill out a form to set an appointment. They come and they meet with you to discuss their insurance needs. And then there could be a follow-up meeting, and then you finally close the deal and you have some follow-up stuff. Okay, that's what it looks like. Well, where do they meet you on this journey? The truth is they meet you at the first meeting. Okay, and when you think about the information that you're going to exchange or that you're going to give them, there's little bits and pieces. There might be the information in the marketing, and then at the pre-meeting, and at the first meeting, and it kind of follows a linear path. Well, today it's a little bit different. Today, let's go ahead and look at the modern buyer's journey. Now we've got this new step in here, the 0 moment of truth, and guess what? They're still seeing you at the first meeting, but the information that you're sharing ends up being a little bit different. You are actually going to be taking parts of the information that you used to share later. You're going to package it on the web and you're going to give it to them sooner, right? During this 0 moment of truth. Now, I've seen several times, actually over and over again, when I talk to sales producers about this, they say, wait a minute, Brett, you're telling me I have to give them the answers to their questions before I even have secured an appointment with them? I haven't even met with them. If I give them my gold right here, how do I know they're not going to take that information and go somewhere else? And I've got 2 responses for you. First off, I'm sorry, you just have to, because this is where they're going, and the agencies or the agents and the producers that share that information, they are the ones who are having the opportunity to give them that information. And second, you want to, but you want to do it in a specific way. You want to do it so that you build yourself as a guide through the process. And so what happens is they're looking at this content, they start having this virtual connection with you. They're feeling like they know you. They're feeling like they can trust you. And as they get that information, they're not getting it in isolation. So don't feel bad about sharing your best stuff with your prospects online, because as they look at that stuff, it's going to be you who gave it to them. And they're going to look to you, especially if you infuse it in there so that you're their guide, you're the one that can create the path for them, then that trust is going to be there. So by the time you finally meet with them, they already have a lot of their questions answered, and they're actually able to move a little bit quicker. And there's still, of course, some information that you're going to share for later. So what we've got to figure out is what are the probing questions? What are the top concerns that our ideal client has? And that's what we're going to be putting in here. So if I'm going to figure out where you're at, and I'm going to look at you on the web, I want to understand what's your ideal client, what kind of problems are you solving for them, what kind of questions do they have that they're going to the web for, and are you providing that content to them? And that's going to determine whether your online footprint is doing a good job or not. That makes sense? I'm hoping that makes sense. So now with that in mind, we can actually start deconstructing what does it take to create a powerful, positive, 0 moment of truth. And that is, first off, it's got to have a reinforcement of the stimulus. Does it pique the interest of your prospect, right? Is it relate a pain point or a problem via a story or virtual experience? Are you giving them hope? That's step 1. That's part of it. The next part is really of 3 parts. You have 3 objectives. First off, we want to create a roadmap. We want to give the viewer a clear path on where they're going. Second, you really do want to set yourself up as the guide. So you got to create some sort of guidance system that establishes that you can help them get from point A to point B. And finally, we need to give them some incentive. We want them to take action, and we don't need them to go to the final action. We just need them to take the next action, right? I don't walk into a bar as a single guy, see a beautiful woman and say, you look nice, you want to get married, right? We don't move that fast in such a short amount of time. And just like that, we don't say, hey, can I write your policy? We have to take them on a first date and a second date, and we build that over time. What's interesting about this though, is that it's been going on for a long time. If you think about like my great-grandpa, right? Maybe he's in the war, and Grandpa Joe, and he met Grandma Irene, and she was the girlfriend of his sister, and they started writing letters when he was overseas. And by the time he got back, because of their letters, they had such a strong relationship that they got married in a week, because it was just built up. That's kind of what we're doing here, but except not for your soulmate, just for someone to solve your problems, is we're having these exchanges virtually where we're establishing our rapport, we're building confidence, and we're doing that in such a way that when it comes time to make that decision, they pick us. Think about it. If you were to, we use the example of umbrella policy, right? I start to realize, man, I think I need an umbrella policy. So I Google it on the web and I find some content from this agent, and I look at this agent and I Google my own agent to see if they have some content, and I'm looking at this content. Well, one of them, let's say this guy in the middle, he's got a really cool video and he explains some things, and he says, you know what, if you want to really understand this, I've got a little document, give me your email and I'll send you this extra information. And so you think, okay, I'll do that. And you do that and you get the information, it's really good. But now he's got your email, which means he can send you more content. He might even have an automated drip email campaign, as we call it. Basically, he's set up for a few more emails over the next couple of weeks to send you more information, right? Maybe you ask about this one question that people always ask about, but maybe there are 3 or 4 others. And so he just, out of the goodness of his heart, is going to share you some content that says, hey, you know what? A few days ago, you were asking about this. This is another question that people often have that are trying to figure this out. I thought you might enjoy this. And now 2 weeks goes by and you need to make a decision. You know what? I got to pull the trigger. I got to figure this out. What are they going to do? The prospect is going to connect most likely with the person with whom they have the strongest relationship. And is it because we read that article or this article? Or is it this person here, I guess our example's in the middle, this person who actually has established rapport with us and shared more content, right? That's really what we're doing with these moments of truth. And let me go back here and just look at this. What we want to do is answer these common questions, so when it comes time for them to make that decision, I got to meet with someone, guess what? We're the strongest influence in their life. That's the power of this. So I want to walk you through an example of this just from beginning to end, and then we're going to jump into the worksheet. Here's the example. We'll say it's a cyber liability situation. 2 business owners are walking down a path, right? 2 buddies. And one of them says, you know what? I was just talking to our mutual friend, some third party, who had a cyber breach, right? They had a data breach. They didn't have cyber insurance, and it doesn't look like their business is going to make it. And you guys know the statistics. It's pretty high. I can't remember off the top of my head, but within like 2 to 3 years, like this huge percentage of businesses don't make it when they've had a data breach. So your buddy was like, kind of scared the crap out of me, and I went and I got cyber liability insurance. And you know what? You should probably think about that too. So that's the stimulus, right? That's a stimulus. This guy, he's already responded, taking care of it. This guy here who's thinking, you know what? Maybe I should solve this. He says, what does he say to his friend? You know what? I haven't really been that happy with my agent anyways. Who are you using? And he gives you their name. And so now you've got this referral, right? Now, this guy right here, he's ready to go online, right? He's going to zoom forward here. He's going to go home and he's going to start checking stuff out. But when he gets home, he also talks to his business partner and he's like, that's cool too, but also my brother-in-law is an agent and I've got this other buddy that's an agent. So let's go ahead and check out all 3 of them, figure out who has the most information, or who, you know, let's take a look at a couple of these and see if we can qualify which one's going to be the best one for us. And guess what? If it were up to just meeting with you 3 appointments in a row, what you do in real life as you meet with them would be the winner. But often what happens now, because of the 0 moment of truth concept, is that we're right here, we're online, we're figuring this stuff out. And so we don't have to meet with all 3 of them before we get this gut feeling on who it is that we should use. All right, so let's jump back and we'll use a personal lines example too, because I know we have a lot of personal lines agents that are taking this training. Let's say in this scenario, we're talking about the umbrella policy like I was talking about earlier, right? One buddy says, you know what? We got the kids driving now. We just got the boat. I think we're gonna get that investment property, the cabin down on the lake. And I'm thinking maybe I need to get serious about figuring out my insurance. And your buddy says, well, just make sure you get an umbrella policy. We got one and it's a really important thing to do. And then of course they carry on, right? Once again, they might get the name of their agent, they might get some referrals, but what's gonna happen is this guy right here, he's gonna go home and he's gonna Google umbrella insurance or umbrella policy. And then he's gonna see what's out there. And depending on what he finds, right, he might even Google, he might go to the website for his agent, or he might go to the Facebook page for his agent. And he's going to be looking, he might even type in the name of his agent and the word umbrella, and he's going to see what he has or what she has. And depending on what you have out there, that's going to help him determine. And it might be that you're awesome. You've got some great resources. You got some carriers that can provide some awesome umbrella policies. But guess what? your online presence didn't convince him that he should talk to you. So what does he do? He actually reaches out to one of the other people or the other things that he found. This is kind of the game that's being played here. Once again, we've got to make sure that we are winning the zero moment of truth. And to do that, we've got to figure out where we're at. So that's what today's worksheet is about. So the day one worksheet right here is we're going to figure out where you're at right now. And actually, this won't take you very long. So what are we going to do? I'll just walk through it real quick. First off, you can see it says perform a web search using a variation of the following search terms to see how you appear online. So all of these first names here, we can just, all of this stuff right here, we can just search on these. We can find out what it looks like. And then once you've done that, I want you to go ahead and answer these questions, right? What do the questions say? Do you appear in the search results like you expected? How do you feel about your online footprint? Does your content stimulate your shopper, or are you trying to sell your reader using technobabble? Okay, so this draws back on that conversation we had before. Is it framed for the piquing the interest and stimulating the shopper, the prospect, or is it you in sell mode, assuming they're already interested? Would you be likely to request your services based on what you found? Why or why not? What invitations or calls to actions did you make to your viewers? And then finally, can you list 3 to 5 things you could do online to be more appealing or easier to contact? So go ahead and if you haven't printed off, print off this worksheet, fill this out. Now I've got one thing I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sit down at my computer and I'm going to go through this worksheet for myself. So if you want to, you can kind of peek over my shoulder as I walk through completing this. I'm going to do some searches, kind of show you what it would feel like to do this. You don't have to watch that part of the video. You can just jump in and do it. But if you've got questions that might give you some context or some insights on how I would go about checking out my online footprint. But don't jump off the video yet. There's one more thing I need to talk about. We need to establish a practice every day when you're doing this challenge. Every day of the challenge, when you complete your mission, the final step is to create a social post on the Boss Social private community. So whether you do it on the LinkedIn group or the Facebook group, I'd like to ask you to go in there and create a post. And that post is going to say, I completed this day, and then you write this hashtag. Every day is going to have a different hashtag. And what happens is when you publish your post, when you put the hashtag in those words, it turns into a link. You can then click that link and it will show you all the posts from every other student and how they responded to that exact training. So it might be you've got some questions. And so in that post you can say, hey, I've got a question. You explained something, Brett, I know you think you're clear, but you weren't really that clear. I didn't really understand. So ask your question, and then that way when I click the link, I can see which questions you have, I can help give answers, but also you might see that you know the answers to some of the questions that your peers are posting. And then also you might have some epiphanies or ideas, some cool insights. This is just a chance for you to have a little bit of stewardship, for you to be able to say, you know what, I finished this day, here's where I'm at, here's how I feel, and every day I'm gonna have different prompts. So for today, I just want you to practice doing it. Create that post, put the hashtag in there and say, I did it. I finished day 1. I'm so excited for day 2. All right. So if you're ready to go do the worksheet, you can jump off now and go do that. And then for those that want to stay on, I'm going to go ahead and sit down at my computer and I'm going to walk through how I would search for myself on the web and fill out this worksheet. And I'll try to do it pretty quick. Here we have the day 1 worksheet. How do I look online right now? And let's just walk through this really briefly, and then you can spend a few minutes on your own doing this for yourself. So step 1, perform web searches using a variation of the following search terms to see how you appear online, and then you can place a check in each box below after you complete that search. So what I've done here is I've put together some of the more common terms, your name and the word insurance, your name and your location, your name and insurance specialties, and then your insurance specialties and your location. And what we want to do is see what comes up online. What does your online footprint look like? And we're going to use Google as a search engine, the Bing search engine. We're also going to search on Facebook, and then we'll search on LinkedIn. Here we are on Google. I'm going to type in my name. Now I will tell you, even though I've been involved in insurance, my real focus is social. So I'm going to cheat a little bit for myself, and I'm going to write the word social media just so that way it's a little bit more prominent for me. You can see right here, number 1, LinkedIn shows up, and it's my personal profile that comes up first. Then we've got my business website, and here we have a third-party website. So this is a podcast I did, and then we've got another personal website I own, and then we've got my business page on Facebook, and then posts from my business page on Facebook. And then here we have another third party. So if you know Chris Paradiso, Paradiso Presents, he looks like he's referring to me for something that we did a while ago. Got a picture of me. So you can see here's my Twitter. So hopefully I'm a good example of this. I'm dominating the front page, and that's what we want to be, not just your website. And so people are doing this. They're checking you out. So I go to Bing. This time we'll be a little more daring. Let's just go Brett Allen Insurance. I won't even put social media on here. Probably won't be as much. Okay, we get, this guy beats me out. Brent is State Farm. And then we've got another guy. And then we've got me, and then we've got me. So I'm there. And again, I guess I shouldn't excuse myself, but social really is the keyword that I'm probably really trying hard. And here we go on Bing, this shows up. So let's look at your name and location. So if you go ahead and you do your name and your location. Now I spent most of the last many years living on Bainbridge Island, Washington, which is right out of Seattle. So what's going to come up here? It's going to be very specific. So yeah, my life, you can figure out, look at that. I'm an old man. Actually, I'm not that old, right? 50 is the new 30. And here's my business. I used to work with realtors. So we got a lot of stuff there. But also you want to look at your larger markets. So let's say I am in Seattle. So am I optimized for that larger area? And here we've got LinkedIn again. See, what you're seeing here is how important LinkedIn is. LinkedIn is so powerful. Yes, we socialize on Facebook, and 80% of Facebook users are checking it every single day, but 20% of LinkedIn users are checking it every day, or just under. And guess what? It is LinkedIn where we have all the business stuff, the business information. So look at this. You can see all this information about me. I'm not even signed in. It's just showing me this is what the Google, right, or what the Bing has found on me. So let's do it this way. This time we're going to do something a little bit different. I don't think I'm going to show up for this because I don't remember ever publishing anything for this, but let's just see what happens. Cyber insurance. Okay, well, I still am showing up for number 2. That's good. And that's good. So you can see here they're not including the word cyber. I guess it's because it's getting the word insurance. But let's pick someone else. So I'm just going to, I probably should have called him before I did this, but I'm not going to. Chris Paradiso is a friend of mine, an insurance agent. And what you can see here, he's got his own agency, Paradiso Insurance. So I'm putting in cyber insurance. And what I want to see is what would come up. So let's say someone had referred him to me, right? In our little example, right? My buddy says, oh, you need cyber insurance. So what we find here, and look at this. One of his producers actually has a cyber liability video. So not only that, and there's one from Chris, looks like this one's a little bit older, but what we see is very powerful, very quickly, he has established a strong presence for this term. So that term's in there. Now we know that he is, let's go ahead and choose someone else. I'm thinking of a friend of mine named Claudia McLean. Okay, now she is an insurance agent just north out of Seattle. And so what I'm going to do for her is I'm going to do umbrella because she does a lot of auto, home, and boat insurance. So I'm going to do umbrella insurance. I just want to see what comes up here. These are moments of truth here, right? And I probably should have called them before I did this. By the time you watch this video, I'll have called them and gotten their permission to, I would say throw them under the bus, but I think these are positive examples. So here it is. Look at that. Claudia Udall. 5 reasons why you should have umbrella insurance. So if my buddy said, look, you know what, you need some umbrella insurance, you should talk to my agent. Her name is Claudia McLean. And so I go in here and I Google this and I'm trying to figure out, does she really know who she is? Or does she really know this stuff? And guess what? I can click on this. I haven't looked at this before, so this is a moment of truth for both of us. But look at this. I will say I had a pretty good hunch that she's someone who does not need this training. However, in both Chris's and Claudia's situation, for using them as examples, I will give them free access to the entire training. You're human, you make mistakes. Look at this. You should have umbrella insurance, and she's got all this information. Let's see if she has a call to action. Does she have a call to action? The bottom line is this. Look at this, and there's her call to action. So, good job. You gave me a path. You answered some of my questions. Now, if I read through this, hopefully it'll resonate with me in a way that I'm like, okay, my buddy says she's great. This looks like she's great. Man, I can even text here. Like you can see the combination here of social and web working together. And you can see she's got some social links here. Let's go ahead just for fun and see what happens if we are on Facebook. So here we're going to do umbrella insurance. First, I'm going to see what comes up. Now, what you can see here is you're going to look at posts, you can look at people, you can look at all kinds of things. So someone actually has an umbrella insurance page. Brilliant idea. Okay, here's another one. But here we're going to see some posts. So Brown and Brown, they have created some posts that talk about umbrella coverage. Good job, Brown and Brown. So these guys are winning this search engine. And again, of course, if I was looking up Claudia Clean, well, I'll spell that right. What are we going to find? We found her. We found some information about her. Well, McArthur got in there. Good job. And so let's go ahead and look at posts. So we're going to see, are there posts? Look at this. We've got posts from her. And not only that, she's got travelers, umbrellas, just... So I'd have to read these to see exactly what's going on here. But what you can see here, here's another one. What's this one? Oh, look at that. That was me hanging out with Claudia one day when we were doing a little bit of a webinar. So what you can see here is there are a lot of breadcrumbs or evidence. It's your footprint that's on the internet. Same thing with LinkedIn, right? If I go into LinkedIn, okay? This is an example. Let's say you were checking me out and you check out my profile. Okay, here's our question. Remember our questions? Would you be likely to request your services? What invitations or requests did you make to your viewers? I've made it very clear in the front. Get training, see below, right? I've given you directions so you know, okay, somewhere below there should be some information. So what we're going to do is I'm kind of maybe showing you your future right now. We're going to be optimizing your presence in such a way that when people see you, hopefully it's positive. Hopefully it's going to give them direction, and it's going to help you look awesome. Just for fun, since we were talking about umbrella insurance, I'm just going to see what happens here if I search for umbrella insurance. Now this is kind of fun. What we can do here is there's 156,000 search results. I actually can come in here and I can say, you know what? I want to look in the greater Seattle area. So let's do Seattle. And let's see who Claudia's her competition is, right? So we're going to look for, oh, and I can look at other things. So let me look under some of the filters. I'm going to look under insurance. I think there's one here that lets me put anything I want in. Title. So I'm going to put insurance in the title. Maybe they're an agent, maybe they're a producer. You guys all call yourself different things. So I'm going to keep it a little bit vague. Now all of a sudden I've got how many? 300. That's still a lot. But what we can see here is there are a lot of people who have optimized their profiles that has the word umbrella in it as well. And so this is kind of the game we're playing. How do we get, what did this Paul guy do that's getting himself up there? He's optimized. So one of the things you can do is you can cheat, right? This is getting into a little bit of tomorrow's work, but what you can do is you can go look at other people, see what they've done, and then that can give you some ideas. So when we talk about how down here, list 3 to 5 things you could do online to be more appealing, you could say, be like Erin. And then you go look at Erin's LinkedIn profile and see if you can figure out what she did that brought her to the top. But for yourself, again, you're going to be searching on these things. You're going to check yourself out. You want to see how often you're showing up. Are you showing up the way you thought you would? So there's a lot of little things we can do to make sure that our presence is going to be a positive moment of truth. Right? Today we're really focusing on ourselves. What do we look like? How do we appear? Is it positive? Is it negative? Whether it's a post you created on your website or an article on LinkedIn or a social post on Facebook or LinkedIn, we want to make sure you are conscious of what your presence looks like. So do this worksheet, okay? Finish this off. Shouldn't take you too long. and then you are going to be ready for day 2.